Welcome to episode 155 of the Loane Hockey Podcast, where today we're going to be talking about some standouts from last night's matchup between Chicago and the Rangers. And so it was a really good game from Chicago. They had a really consistent game overall. I feel like there were stretches throughout this game where they were able to consistently generate offense, especially from their top six. And it felt like a lot of their guys were rolling throughout this game. So that was really good to see from Chicago's side. For the Rangers, it was a little bit of a inconsistent effort from them. I felt like the Rangers, they had their chances, but they weren't able to capitalize on some. I felt like a lot of great A's were coming from Artemi Panarin throughout this game, the former Blackhawk himself. And I feel like just the Rangers, in terms of how this Trouba situation went down, I don't know if it's going to affect them negatively, if they're going to be resilient about it, or if there's going to be any more changes in the meantime with their veteran group. It's just going to be interesting to see how this continues to go for the Rangers because they haven't had the best year, of course, and not up to their standard in terms of the way they play thus far. And so, but like I said, it was a really good game from Chicago. I felt like all across the board they were noticeable. And we'll start with Taylor Hall. I felt like Taylor Hall had a really good game, really breakthrough in terms of his ability to create offense. He has a lot of familiarity playing the Rangers in terms of when he was playing the Devils a couple of years prior. And so with Hall, he was really noticeable as a passer. He had a really nice goal. It was like Bobby Orr-esque where he's flying through midair. I believe he got tripped up. He might have gotten tripped via the pad of Shesterkin on the goal, so it caused him to fly through the air. But he ended up scoring off a really nice feed from Bedard as well. And Taylor Hall had a really good game. I felt like his playmaking was noticeable, especially in ozone, being able to create crossing plays and being able to generate crossing passes. And just being able to use that vision that he has is a really big weapon of his when he's able to utilize that consistently. And Taylor Hall is obviously when he's at his best, a dynamic level player in the NHL. Obviously, he's still trying to find his game as of late in terms of recent years, but at the same time, still a guy who can be very productive and brings that high end playmaking when necessary, just doesn't always translate to production. So he was noticeable. Connor Bedard had a really good game. I noticed him right away out of the hop in this game. He about 4 minutes, 5 minutes into the game in the first period, he was creating volume like crazy, especially from the interior. He was creating one timers, wrist shots, like just a lot of volume on his shots. And that really allowed him to be able to create offense in many different ways. He was moving off the puck really well, really fluidly, and just seemed to have that instinct to be in the right areas at the right times. And I feel like some of those elite players, when they're really on their game, the puck just somehow keeps going back to them, and it keeps allowing the play to be fluid and moving. And Bedard is one of those players where when he's playing at his best, he's using his instincts, his off puck movement is purposeful, and he just plays a really well-rounded offensive game. So I felt like that was one of his biggest attributes yesterday. Yes, he only had one assist, but still, he looked like a very productive offensive player from an overall standpoint. Tyler Bertuzzi had a really, really good game, arguably the best Hawk on the ice in this game and the best player on the ice in this game. I felt like from a competitive standpoint, he was really noticeable. From a tenacious standpoint, ability to get pucks back, ability to work to get pucks back, ability to get above the puck, and just how he was able to create movement. And I felt like Bertuzzi was really on time in many different situations in terms of his off puck routes, especially in ozone and neutral zone. And with Bertuzzi, not a standout offensive player, but a guy who brings some degree of offense when necessary, and he can provide that extra bit of juice in terms of his compete level as well. And so with Bertuzzi, he was noticeable creating volume, shot volume. He was creating a lot of shots. He was creating a lot of attempts, and he was creating a lot of attempts from a variety of situations and via both pass and also shooting as well. So there were a lot of different opportunities he was able to create in the D zone as well in terms of positional play, how he's positioning himself on the half wall as a winger and was really noticeable there. Jason Dickinson had a really good game as well. I felt like his game from a competitive standpoint, noticeable as a two-way player, noticeable as a center. He's noticeable as a shutdown player, like a guy you want to rely upon inside your bottom six as a defensive threat, more so than an offensive threat. I feel like that's the biggest standout quality when it comes to his game. He can be relied upon to provide a scoring touch when necessary as well, but not super offense based, and he's more defensively reliable. I feel like that's the stingy part of his game that allows him to be able to control play on a regular basis and be able to shut down other top players on occasion as well. Kevin Korchinski had a really good game after getting called up over the weekend and playing in this game, his first game back in I believe about 8 months or so. Yeah, 8 months, somewhere around that time. and in the NHL. And so with him, he was playing on top of the ice. I thought his breakouts were good. His habits were good. He's heads up awareness with his vision with the puck and was skating it really well. He's quarterback in the second unit on the power play and on occasion the first unit as well. So he was interchangeable in that sense and just was really noticeable. And I felt like he was able to control offensive situations a lot of the time. And he was really noticeable walking the line, being able to maintain that fluidity in the ozone to be able to walk the line and that lateral agility to be able to avoid checkers and create open shot lanes. And so with him is really noticeable offensively more than defensively. I feel like defensively there's still some issues at him defending line rush and defending entries. And that was a bigger problem of his last year in the NHL. He would get burned a lot of time with wide speed on entries against, and that would hurt him a lot of the time because guys could get goal side positioning on him, but they could also just blow past him off the rush, which is not what you really want to do as a defenseman. You want to try to shut those plays down, and so but he is certainly making progress. I feel like playing in the AHL has really benefited him as a pro player, being able to play down there, get consistent top 4 minutes, and be able to be a consistent offensive contributor on the power play as well. And his game looks a little bit more polished to start this season. Again, it's only a sample size. He's only played one game in the NHL thus far in this season, but he looked really good and he looked really steady from an overall perspective. And then Will Cooley on the Rangers side, once again, I really like his ability to score. I really like his ability to finish, his ability to move off the puck, and he's very fluid in how he moves. And Cooley's a guy who, again, he's really been standing out offensively this year, and one of the few guys on the Rangers that has been a consistent offensive guy and an offensive weapon for them. Not many guys on the Rangers have been as consistent as he, and he's a guy who's also reliable defensively. You can rely upon him as a shutdown player, as a shutdown winger, and rely upon him in the PK, and he's also a power winger. He brings a lot of sizable attributes in terms of his ability to protect the puck, hold contact, and hold off contact along the walls, and be able to evade checks with his size. Not necessarily super fast per se, but he's really good with how he uses his body to be able to get around players and maintain possession. And then Brett Berard, I really liked his game and had some injury issues to start. And he's back now, and he looks to me like a guy that could really round out this Rangers bottom six. I really like his game, and I've really liked his game for quite some time. But dating back to the NTDP, I liked it there. I liked him at Providence. I liked him when he was at the World Juniors. I liked him when he was playing in Hartford now. I've liked his game for a long time, and I feel like there's just a lot of translatable qualities within his game. He might not be an uber offensively oriented guy, maybe a middle six, bottom nine type guy in his role throughout his career, but a guy who can be very reliable offensively when necessary and very reliable as a checker. I think that's the biggest quality when it comes to him is his checking ability and how tenacious he is on the forecheck and how he is really good at maintaining man-on-man coverage. I feel like with his speed element and his footwork, that really allows him to be able to defend a lot easier than other players and other forwards. And so, especially with him being a younger guy, a younger forward, brings a lot of energy, pace, tenacity, and just uber competitiveness. I feel like he could be a really big staple for the Rangers inside their bottom six. And he's got some elements in terms of his offense that can translate, not necessarily right away, but over time as well. And then Chris Kreider, I felt like one of the few guys that really stood out for them as well. I always notice him against Chicago. I always feel like he's skating really well in line rush. I always feel like he's skating really well in the neutral zone. Yesterday, there were a lot of rushes where he had speed with the puck and he's moving well with the puck. It's just a little, the touch hasn't been as quite there this season compared to last season, previous seasons where he could score 30, 40 goals consistently and a guy who can be very reliable in so many key offensive situations for them, but it's just trying to get him going on a regular basis as well.